Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos and subscribing to the channel. And I really appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm just going to do a quick final thoughts video on Overeem and Rozenstruik. And I wasn't able to do a podcast with Gugabe this week. Ever since daylight savings has happened in America, the time between where I'm at in America and he's at in Australia makes it like it was already inconvenient and hard to get on the same schedule, but now it's like an hour even more convenient. So it's been tough, but we'll try to figure something out. Maybe we can do them. Yeah, but we'll try to figure it out to eventually be able to get them out more consistently again. But when we don't do one, I always do a final thoughts video in the place of it, so it should be okay. But I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna be honest right now, like for this card I really don't have much action, so if you don't want to listen, because I'm not gonna really have many picks at all, you don't have to listen. So I just wanted to give you that disclosure first. But for those of you who have picks and just kind of come just for information, it could still be beneficial for you. So I'm going to go through each one and I'll just kind of briefly go through them. I'm not going to go too in depth on Final Thoughts videos. I don't go nearly as in depth on single videos, kind of like my Usman Covington video. I'll go a lot more in depth whenever I have like a bigger play. But first fight of the night, Murdoch and Trevor Smith. I tend to think like Murdoch should win. I do think Smith like has an outside chance to win, but like the thing about Murdoch is Smith can wrestle a little bit and lands a couple of takedowns per 15. So I don't really know much about Murdoch's defensive wrestling. It hasn't really been tested, so could get interesting just because he may not be good there. But I mean, if he ends up having good wrestling, he'll probably dominate. So it's just kind of tough to know. I mean, Murdoch, he's quicker, faster, should be all right, but he didn't land at a huge pace against Alessio in his last fight. So if he doesn't put Smith away right away, it could be decently competitive, but that's all I really have to say about that. No play. Jan-de-roba and Martin. I think Jan-de-roba should win this, but what makes this fight a little weird is I've never seen Martin tested defensively as a wrestler. So I don't know. Like, if she can stop takedowns, then this fight could be kind of close because Jan-de-roba doesn't throw a ton of strikes, even though she's decent at not getting hit on the feet, Jan-de-roba, but she isn't like super high volume, so could turn into a close kickboxing fight. But Jan-de-roba's takedowns are fucking good. Like, I like her takedowns. Sometimes I'm kind of like pretentious when it comes to analyzing takedowns, but for like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu based fighter, I really like her takedowns. And especially for women's MMA where their skills aren't as developed yet. But I tend to think Jan-de-roba, just statistically, her takedowns are good. I mean, she was taking down Carla Esparza when she went for them, so she could probably get some takedowns here, and she has a good top game, good passing game. She should be all right. And even if she gets taken down by Martin, I could see her just sweeping. Like, she has good sweeps. She was showing that against Esparza as well. But yeah, like I think Jan-de-roba should probably win. No interest in really playing it. Selecki and Wyman. I mean, you don't want to play Wyman here because I know this is kind of narrative, but he's fucking old as fuck, and it is in the numbers statistically that older fighters don't, when they're at a huge age discrepancy, they tend to lose more. But like the thing though, if Selecki can't sub Wyman right away, because I really don't know if Wyman is crafty on the mat, and I could see it being difficult to sub him. Could Wyman just tough it out and maybe kind of get some positions himself and start, kind of make it ugly? Like almost like Diego did to Mickey Gall in a way, to where he could just, I don't know, where he can kind of just not get put away and then maybe put a pace on his opponent. Like, I don't know, like Wyman could maybe do that, but I imagine Selecki should probably win, but I don't really know. It's a tough fight to know. This is a really tough fight card, and we're about to get to a few more fights. There's 3 fights on here that are lined about 50-50, and I truly have no idea who's going to win. And I think sometimes you need to admit when you just don't fucking know, because whenever you kind of... it becomes a guessing game if you start making plays on that. Matt Sales and Mitchell... Sales has a great striking ratio. I actually like his striking, and I like his pace, and I like his output, and I like his cardio. And Mitchell doesn't throw strikes. He's not a very good striker, and so Sales is going to have an advantage there. Mitchell will have the grappling edge, but the thing with Sales scrambles up well whenever you take him down, but if you put hooks in, he can be in trouble. And that's what happened with Kyle Nelson. Nelson just put in hooks, and then he got some dominant positions on Sales and almost finished him. And the thing is, like with Mitchell, so I was really looking out for that in his fights. But he doesn't always put hooks in, but I've seen him do it, but he doesn't do it at a super high clip. So I could see if like he gets a takedown and doesn't put hooks in, I could see Sales popping right up. But if he puts hooks in, it could be a problem for Sales. So it's a wacky fight. I tend to think Sales is going to win here, because I know for sure he's going to have a striking advantage, and I like parts of his get-up game. It's just that the way he gives up hooks and he can get stuck underneath there. Like if Mitchell's team picked that up on tape and he does that, he's probably going to get some dominant position. So it's kind of a tough fight to call. I'll lean Sales a little bit, but again, no action. And sorry, I'm so sorry for like not having many plays here. I have a couple props that I tipped out, but like nothing big. Quarantillo and Kilburn. I taped a little bit on Kilburn, but I don't know. I do like Quarantillo. I'll just call him Billy. I do like Billy's overall pace and tenacity, and I actually thought Fishgold was a super popular play against him at like minus 170. I actually thought Billy had a shot there. Like I thought the more I taped, I was seeing how Billy has guard retention, and if Fishgold just can't get his passing game going, I felt like Billy could maybe kind of get out of position later and pour it on Fishgold later. So yeah, but like for this fight, I tend to like Billy's overall kind of output and pace and tenacity, so I guess I lean him there, but don't really care about this one either. Means and Alves, I think Means should win. I think he's he's got the length, he's got the output advantage, and I feel like if Alves doesn't knock him out, the only path for Alves to really win is like by a close split decision. And I don't know, like I feel like when you actually pour it on Thiago, you can land at him at will, almost. I mean, not necessarily. Like Alves still has some skills, but I just feel like Means will kind of out-hustle him, and he's got the better striking ratio, and I think he'll win. Again, no play. Like really no play on any of these. Simone and Font. This is another one of the... like I throw this into the Sales fight, into the Calvillo fight, which I'm going to be talking about, and in the Overeem fight, where I'm super fucking split, and I really don't know who's going to win on any of these, and I really don't have leans. I think I would rather play Simone at the dog money if I was forced to play, because his wrestling's fucking awesome. Like if you look at Merab, look how easy he was able to out-wrestle Brad Katona, and if you look at like other good wrestlers who've gone up against Katona, like Hunter Azar, they haven't really been able to like dominate him. And Simone could stand... he lost the wrestling battle for the most part against Merab, but he couldn't be held down, and it led to a lot of people thinking Merab didn't have good top control, but Merab has fucking awesome top control. It's just that Simone's really good. But Simone was also able to land takedowns of his own in that fight, and I think Simone's got really good wrestling. So it's just his top control is the issue. I tend to think Simone's going to out-wrestle him. But at the same time, if he can't hold him down, he he's at a big disadvantage on the feet, and he's a little chinny, and he doesn't throw at a high volume, and Font does. Font has a good jab. So, like, I mean, they both have clear paths to victory here. My preferred play, if I was to play, it would probably be Simone, just because he's at dog money. I think this is probably a 50-50 fight, though. But I think Simone has the upside there. What's his decision line? Simone plus 195 decision. Doesn't look like a bad play. Not playing these, though. I'm just kind of like throwing out things that I at least like kind of catch my attention. But yeah, I guess I lean Simone a little bit there, but again, like I'm not playing it, and I'm not confident in it. Here's a fight that I think Song Yadong, you can get him around minus 185 right now to minus 195. I think Yadong is going to win this one, and I don't mind a play on him. But the thing that backed me off is I don't really know how good his defensive wrestling is. Like, it's almost like the Mallory Martin thing. It's like I have no idea. And although his offensive wrestling has looked pretty decent, that's not always a good. And I feel like a lot of his offensive wrestling is based on athleticism, and that's not always the best indicator of your defensive wrestling. And Stamen lands a shitload of takedowns. He lands like over 3 per 15. So if Yadong has a hole there, and we don't really know if he does or not, Stamen has a path to victory. But, I mean, if Yadong can stop the takedowns, I think he'll beat up Stamen on the feet. I do think Stamen can compete there. He lands a high volume of strikes. Stamen's statistics are great, but so are Yadong's. And I think Yadong will just be a little too fast on the feet and a little too hard to hit. And I think he's got more power. And I think he should be at an advantage on the feet and should probably win a decision. If he can just kind of not get grounded by Stamen. But that's what like is scaring me off though for Yadong's price, because that's kind of expensive. A minus 185 price tag when you really don't know for sure if he can stop takedowns. And Stamen's got a great blast double. So yes, I don't know. And like sometimes I see analysis of people saying like, oh, he trains at Team Alpha Male, so he's got good wrestling. I never really fall. I don't like just assume someone has a skill set just because they're at a gym. That's just not something I do. Like I want to see it. I want them to prove it to me, because you can train with whoever you want. It doesn't mean you're automatically blessed with that skill set. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it's not a for sure thing at all. Kunitskaya and Ladd, that's another these are some tough fights, man, to call. And that's why I don't like passing on cards all that often, but sometimes I'm just like, fuck, man, I'd rather just take this card kind of light and use my energy to tape other cards and get ahead. And I'm like 5 cards ahead right now, which I've never been this ahead before. So I kind of use this break plus this week of probably not having any bets to kind of get ahead. But Kunitskaya Ladd, Kunitskaya's better in the clinch in my opinion, and I think she can use her size to keep it there. Like, I mean, if you watch Kunitskaya versus some of these girls, she really dominates in the clinch, and she can kind of rack up the strike totals on that too. And Ladd's not bad in the clinch, but I do think positionally Kunitskaya will probably win the cage battle there. But Ladd's got a legit top game, and like this is a sloppy enough fight where it could just be Kunitskaya falling over or Ladd getting like a random double leg or something, and Ladd kind of pouring it on. And at distance, I think Ladd can kind of land her aggressive striking and straight punches and maybe win there as well. So I think this is another just close fight, and I don't know. Like, I really just don't know. This card is probably the most 50-50 fights where I truly have no fucking idea. And I feel like I would just be, like, if I put like 4 bets on some of these fights I've mentioned, like Simone Font, Sales Mitchell, Ladd Kunitskaya, and Rodriguez, Calvillo, and Overeem, Rozenstruik. Like, if I bet on all 5 of those fights, I feel like I would just be like flipping coins. I do not know. But I'm giving you the reasons why I don't know, such as, like, we don't know if somebody has a specific skill set somewhere, or we haven't seen them tested. So I'm just trying to give you the information that I have. But Rothwell, Struve, I think Rothwell's fine being the favorite. I feel like he has more process to his striking game, little more come forward, little more aggressive. So I could see him winning. I don't think he's a bad play either, but minus 140, I don't see like a ton of value either. So no interest. This next fight, Rodriguez and Calvillo, this is truly the fight that I'm most torn over on the entire card. Like, I've gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and I have no fucking idea. What I do think, though, is, as far as on the striking, I think Marina's got the advantage, but I don't think it's a landslide, because a lot of people don't realize, but JoJo Calderwood has one of the best striking ratios at women's flyweight. She lands like over 6 significant strikes per minute and only gets hit 4, so she's got a good striking ratio. And Cynthia was super competitive in the striking with her, so Cynthia's got a little better striking than people realize. And then Courtney Casey's a pretty, like, an above average striker at that weight class too. And Cynthia won a kickboxing fight against her. Marina lands over 6 strikes per minute and gets landed on 3, but she has a lower sample size, and one of her fights is against Jessica Aguilar, where she was able to tee off. And Courtney Casey put up the exact same striking numbers against Jessica Aguilar as Marina did. So I could see the striking here being a little more competitive than people think. I do tend to think, though, Calvillo was getting eaten up with leg kicks against Casey, and it was kind of showing an impact later on in the fight. Like in round 3, Cynthia was a little more vulnerable, and Marina lands hard leg kicks, so I could see Marina having, like, maybe clearly winning later in the fight. But I do think there will be pockets and stretches of the striking being pretty competitive. But I still favor Marina there. I just don't think Cynthia's completely fucked. I feel like if she starts getting, like, lit up, it will be later in the fight. But she like moves well, Cynthia. Like, if you watch her Calderwood fight and her fight against what was the other one? Courtney Casey. Like, she moves laterally really well, and she's got pretty good hands actually. But Marina's faster. Marina should be able to score with kicks and stuff, but Marina also doesn't really land head strikes, but she mixes it up to the body and the legs well. But like, Cynthia moves pretty well, but I still, like, give Marina the edge on the feet. I just don't think it's a complete mismatch on the feet. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And then on the mat, this is another tough one to call, because it's hard for me. A lot of the methods Cynthia uses to get people to the floor are kind of takedowns that are hard to predict. Like catching kicks, I just can't really predict if someone's going to catch a kick and get a takedown. Marina tends to throw a lot of kicks, so I could see Cynthia having a higher chance to get this to the floor than some of her other fights, but it kind of makes it hard. But at the same time, Cynthia has taken down every opponent in the UFC except Courtney Casey, which is hilarious because you would think Casey would be someone easier to take down. But she's literally taken down everyone, including Carlos Garza. So I think it's more likely than not Cynthia gets a takedown here. So yeah, like, I think the feat's competitive. I think Marina will probably win it there though. And then as far as the takedowns, it's kind of like Cynthia will probably, I assume she'll probably get like 1 to 2 takedowns. She could get a sub. And one or two of those takedowns can swing around. But then there's also been times where Cynthia hasn't wrestled all that actively and has only gone for like 2 takedowns. So then Marina could win the stand. It's just a close fight. I don't know. One line that I like on here, though, is the no scorecards for Cynthia. Because the way I see it is Rodriguez isn't going to sub her. So Rodriguez has to KO her. And I think Cynthia getting a ground finish, like a submission, is way higher percentage than Rodriguez getting a standing KO. Like, Rodriguez isn't going to pass Cynthia's guard to get like any type of ground finish, whether it's a TKO or a submission. So she's really got to get a standing KO, and standing KOs just do not happen that much in women's MMA. They can happen, like, it's possible, it's just a low percentage, but something that does happen a lot is women passing someone's guard and getting a sub. And Cynthia's got a legitimate top game, and the funny thing is everyone brings up the Marcos fight to kind of point out the holes in Marina's ground game, but that definitely was a concerning one. But one of the ones that's actually even more concerning, in my opinion, was Jessica Aguilar was fucking hurt in round one, kind of getting beat up, and she had an armbar from guard very deep. Like, I mean, very deep. Like, you could see the extension on the wrist of Marina, and I feel like if Cynthia had a position like that, she could probably finish. So I feel like a sub could happen here, and I think Cynthia has a higher chance to get a finish. So I really like the scorecards no action, because I don't think Rodriguez can finish Calvillo. Like, she's not going to get a ground finish. She's going to have to standing TKO her, and Rodriguez doesn't land that many head strikes, and Cynthia generally avoids strikes pretty well and can kind of keep it competitive, and then she's kind of got the takedown to threaten as well, which will maybe make Marina not as aggressive. So yeah, the way I see that fight is Marina's probably got the higher chance of winning a decision, although it could get weird if, like, Calvillo could just be barely losing a round and get a takedown with a minute left, so she could win rounds too. I do still think Marina has a better chance at a decision, because I do think she'll probably win the striking, but I definitely think Cynthia has a better chance at a finish there, because I believe it's higher percentage to get a sub in women's MMA than a standing TKO. And then Overeem and Rozenstruik. I tend to lean Overeem here, but I'm not confident in that. He's a very popular play. A lot of people are picking him. But he only lands 1.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he doesn't have great cardio. So even if he like gets a takedown early, and he might not even choose to wrestle, like, we have to take that into account. He might not wrestle at all. Like, how many times have you made a bet relying on somebody to get a takedown? They just don't wrestle. It's happened to me, Eric Anders versus Roundtree, and it was frustrating. And so I've been very careful on picking fights relying on someone to follow a specific game plan. So it's kind of like a method that I changed. But Overeem might not go for takedowns. But even if he does, he only lands 1.5 per 15. And if he doesn't finish Rozenstruik with like his early takedown, he could gas out and be vulnerable. But at the same time, Rozenstruik doesn't look good on the floor. So, I mean, Overeem could finish him. And then obviously, Overeem's chinny. Rozenstruik might knock him dead, but Overeem is a big hitter too. Could see him just knocking Rozenstruik dead. So I think it's just kind of a mess of a fight. I want nothing to do with that fight either. But yeah, that's kind of like my overall reads on this fight card. There's just a lot of red flags for me to be betting people. It's a tough one. I do, as a bonus, since I'm not really giving any picks for this card. I'm on Usman next week for UFC 245, so you guys know. I also like Kai Kara France to beat Brandon Moreno for a smaller play, but I tipped him out like 2 weeks ago when he was minus 130. He's currently minus 144 to minus 150, but I'll give reasons later. But he's at a striking advantage whenever it comes to the numbers significantly. He doubles Moreno up on the striking numbers, and he's tough to hold down, so I don't know if Moreno's going to be able to get his grappling path going. But yeah. And then I have my eye on a few other plays for UFC 245, but I'm not really haven't completely decided, and I'm still kind of monitoring lines to decide what I'm gonna do. But I have a much bigger plan to Usman than Kai Kara-France. So thanks so much. Comment below, and good luck for those of you who do have picks. Thank you.